Hey everyone, Kailas Nirmal here from Javacharter. I hope you all are doing well. Before we dive into today's content, I want to take a moment to sincerely apologize for the delay in bringing you part 3 of our Cracking the Spring Boot Java 8 Microservices interview through MCQs and answers. Life can be a bit hectic, and I truly appreciate your patience and understanding. Part 3 is ready, and I can't wait to share it with you. This marks the conclusion of our series. So, question number 14 of microservices. What is the possible solution to achieve a circuit breaker pattern in microservices? The options are Zulu as ZUUL and Hystrix. Answer 14 with explanation. The correct answer of this question is Hystrix. Hystrix is a library designed to control the interactions between the distributed services, providing a fault tolerance and latency tolerance. It implements the circuit breaker pattern, allowing a microservices to fail fast when it detects that a dependent service is not responding or is experiencing issues. Hystrix helps prevent cascading failures in a microservices environment and provides a fallback mechanism when a service is unavailable. While if we talk about the other option, ZUUL is often used as a gateway service in microservices architecture. It is not specifically designed to implement the breaker pattern. Hystrix, on the other hand, is a dedicated library for resilience and fault tolerance, making it a more appropriate choice for this particular question. Moving to question number 15 for Spring Boot. What is the name of the bin defined in the following configuration class? So if you look at the class is annotated with @configuration and the class name is appconfig. It has an auto-wired field called DS of a type data source. And there is another, if you see the annotation @bin on the method client repository, you can go through this code snippet. Now, the correct answer, oh sorry, before moving to the answer, the option were JPA client repository, and the two bins are defined data source and the repository. I hope you guys got the question. The question was, what is the name of the bin defined in the following configuration class? Okay, and options were JPA client repository, and the two bins are defined data source and repository. The correct answer is the client repository. In the provided appconfig class, there is a method annotated with @bin named client repository. This method is responsible for creating and configuring a bin of type client repository. The name of the bin is derived from the method name, which is in this case is a client repository. Now moving to question number 16, which was again on a Spring Boot. What is Spring behavior? It will refer if there is an existing, guys, note here, existing transaction in progress. The current method can run within these transactions. The options were required, requires new, supports, and not supported. So the correct answer is required. When there is an existing transaction in progress, in this case, the current method must be able to run within the transaction to avoid any errors or inconsistencies. This can be achieved by using the required option, which means that the method will be executed within the current transaction if one exists. This is the default behavior in Spring and is suitable for most uh, scenarios. Okay. Moving to question number 17 of again a Spring Boot. Using JDBC template, what is the Spring provided class you will use for result set parsing and merging rows into a single object? The options are row mapper, result set extractor, row callback handler, and result set mapper. The answer of this question is, the correct answer is row mapper. The row mapper interface in Spring is used to map a row of result set to an object. It allows you to define the logic for mapping each row's data to an object in your Java code. This is particularly useful when working with JDBC template in a Spring application to retrieve and process data from a relational database. The other options which were mentioned in the options like result set extractor and row callback handler and result set mapper are not standard Spring class interfaces used for this specific purpose. Okay, I have given a small example also of public class employee mapper implements row mapper of type employee. Moving to question number 18. What does below code snippet mean in Spring Boot application? So there is a code snippet starting with @API operation, which has a value and nodes, and there are few other lines of code as well. So if you look at this code carefully, you will able to understand uh, what is the meaning of this code. Yeah. So options of these questions were @API operation is a Swagger annotation and we are customizing it. API operation is a REST endpoint annotation and hence this service is exposed as endpoint. The correct answer of this question is API operation is a Swagger annotation and we are customizing it. @API operation is a Swagger annotation used for documenting and customizing the Swagger and documentation for your API. It provides metadata about the API operations such as the operations description, response type, and other details. The code is not making the service an endpoint but rather providing additional information for API documentation purposes. Moving to question number 19 of Spring Boot. When the propagation setting is blank, a logical transaction scope is created for each method upon which the setting is applied. Each such logical transaction scope can determine rollback only status individually, with an outer transaction scope being logically independent from the inner transaction scope. What is Spring transaction propagation type that we are talking about? Pick one option. The propagation underscore requires underscore new, the propagation underscore nested, the propagation underscore require, and the propagation underscore all. This is a bit tricky question, guys. I would like you to explore more on this. Okay. The correct answer is the propagation nested. While both propagation requires underscore new and the propagation underscore nested create a new transaction scope, propagation underscore nested allows the inner transaction to be rolled back independently of the outer transaction. The key phrase in the question, if you notice, is each such logical transaction scope can determine rollback only status individually, with an outer transaction scope being logically independent from the inner transaction scope. This characteristics assigns more closely with the propagation underscore nested rather than the propagation underscore requires underscore new. Yeah, guys, that marks the end of the part 3 series. Uh, end of the series and part 3 as well. Thank you for your constant support and yeah, till the next video. Bye bye. Take